Hello, welcome to Moonsong Designs. Thank you for joining me. Today's project is a card that I've made with a stamp set that's come from the New Autumn Winter catalogue, and I think this is an absolutely stunning set. And I've also taken one of the dies from the, what's it called? Beautiful Branches? Beautiful Branches Thinlits. There was a bundle offer which they called Thoughtful Branches, and it had the dies plus the stamps. I just bought the dies. This reminded me a bit Lord of the Rings. I won't show you the construction of the card because it was a bit complicated, so I've simplified things a little bit. But this is what we're going to be doing. This is heat embossed with bronze. But what we're going to do is we're going to do it in mint macaron. So for this you need two pieces of card. You need the piece for the front. It's an A4 sheet. Which would be like that, with a little bit on the top. Well, actually it went that way. So you cut your first piece at 5. I've done this in inches, but I will put all the metric measurements on as well. This is a 5-inch piece of card. That's for your front. Get rid of that bit. And for the back, you need a 5.5-inch piece, and you have one score mark at a half inch. So we'll just fold and burnish this for now. The problem, I couldn't do it with a single piece of card, which you would normally have when you're making a card, because the big shot, which we're going to be using, isn't wide enough. So you can't put the full sheet of A4 card through it. It doesn't matter, we can do it like this, it's not too much of an issue. So I've got one of the circles from the circles framelits. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the 6th smallest. But if you're going to do this, then cut out your tree and then just overlay them. So all I did was play about until I decided how much of the tree I wanted exposed. If you want less, use a smaller one. If you want more, obviously use a bigger one. So I'm going to grab the big shot. I've lost the cutting plates. I had them a second ago because I've been moving things around. Oh, that's interesting. Hang on a second. Here's the big shot anyway. That I can find. Somehow I never lose that. I found them. I'm going to put them aside somewhere. So I've got the magnetic die. So you've got your first cutting plate. You've got your platform. Your first cutting plate, your card, and then I'm putting it, I don't know, about 2/3 of the way towards the top. You put your other cutting plate on, and then we're just going to run it through. And if you haven't used a die before, it's the raised edge that cuts through your card or your paper. I'm sorry if this is making the table wobble a bit. So I'm going to need this again in a second. But you should have circle card and the front of your card. So I'm just going to put that aside for a second. While I've got the big shot out, we'll cut out the tree. And I think we're just going to do this in Whisper White. So I'm just going to cut, this is the thick Whisper White, so I'm just going to cut a piece of card because again it doesn't go through for a full A4 sheet, won't go through. Let's put that to one side, and it's a good job you can't see the mess. I've got card everywhere at the moment, and I've actually got, I think, a little bit of copper left stuck in there, so I'm just going to grab a pen. Probably not the right thing to do with a fountain pen, but it's got a very, yeah, that's it. It's actually not, I didn't find when I used this the other day that the bits got stuck in a huge amount. It was quite easy to get the bits out of. So again, this is the cutting edge. I'm going to place it onto my card and place the other cutting plate on the top. bring my big shot back. I don't know about everybody else, but I have to stand up for this. Probably just weak and feeble. And then run this through. You often hear a crack, and that's absolutely normal. There you go. Now, because it's slightly more detailed thinlet, I'm going to run it through just a couple of times, 3 times. But if it, like the circle, if it's just a very plain shape, you probably don't have to do that. So there's our tree. And what you should get is that. And actually, here's me saying it doesn't keep hold of the bits, and it has. Never work with children, animals or thinlets. So let's just give that a bit of a... Like I say, most of them will just pop out. Got ink on my fingers now. Do pop out very easily on this. Some of the dyes, you can get a dye brush, which really helps to get them out, but I'm always a little bit nervous that I'm going to overdo it and tear the dye I've just cut out. We don't need that now, do we? So let's just get those out of the way. And it's the same little bit that's stuck in the dye. There you go, done. And there's your tree shape. There's your tree cut out really nicely. So before we do that, I'm going to bring back the front of the card, and I'm going to turn it over. I'm going to turn it over because what you do find, I don't know whether you can see this, is that sometimes that you're left with a circle, and actually I think that's quite nice. Depending on the look of your card, I think that that can help frame things a little bit. But I'm going to turn it over, and I'm going to decide now which of the stamps I'm going to be using. So here they are, the photopolymer. I'm going to use 2 blocks, which are here. I haven't got all the blocks. Every time I buy an order, if I need to add just a little something, I buy a block. This one is the A block, and this one is the H block. But they're perfectly big enough for just big enough for what I need. So Paisley goes on there, and you can see I haven't used pink for this at all, but you can see how it does make the photopolymer go slightly odd colour, but you know, it's fine. So which one shall I use? I may as well use the same one I did last time because I think it's nice. Nice, nice, nice. So this one just about fits on there. So I may even go for one of the smaller ones as well, but we'll see. So with the Versamark, I'm going to do it that way around, and I'm going over the edges. I'm going to sort of try and stamp randomly. Random stamping actually I find it quite difficult because it's never actually random. I think your brain fights against it. I think there. Now when I was doing the black, it was very, very difficult to see. How should we do it? It was very difficult to see where I was stamping, and a very clever fellow demo said to me, well, why don't you stamp and then put the embossing powder on before you stamp your next one, which would be a fantastically clever idea had I thought of it myself. So I think I'm going to get something else. What should we have? Should we? Yeah, I want one of the really small ones now. So we get rid of that. Pop pop that one on and we're just going to fill in the gaps. A little more random perhaps. Let's just turn that round. A little bit there, a little bit there, and there's one more gap there. So the lid on the Versamark, and this is white embossing powder which is going to go all over the top, all over everywhere, and I really put it on really thickly because I think if I try and do it thinly I'm going to get an uneven covering. I'm just getting a piece of photocopy paper, which I find it much easier to pour it back into the tub with. Oops, about to lose my leaf. Just a second. That. Oh yeah, I think that's going to work. Hang on a second. Let's get this first lot in. Let's just get that onto the other desk, because one thing I am incredibly good at is knocking it off, and then it's the kind of stuff that it's like sand on a beach if you're having a picnic. It gets into places it has no right to get into. Right, so I need the lid. Okay, lid's on, so now we're going to let's get rid of that. I think that's going to look good, except for this bit here. Just going to... Right, the heat gun is on the floor, plugged in and ready. So, excuse me while I make a racket. Oh no, I've missed some. Let's just hold it to the light and then I can see where I've missed and where I haven't. Missed one little bit there and there. The copper, I have to say, when I was using that, it was fantastic. The copper, when you sprinkle it on, it looks like a really dull dark brown. So once you've heat gunned it, it turns into this really lovely glossy copper colour, so you can see very easily if you've missed anything. I think that's okay. Now, the tree is the tricky part because there's not an awful lot to attach it with. So the easiest thing I found was to pop it on, and with a pen or a pencil, just mark where the glue would start and finish. It's like that, just a couple of little dots. And then I'm using Tombow for this because I think it's a bit difficult to use anything. You can't really use anything else. So, bit there, and then just gently and as close to the edge as you can get it, dab it on. And the other thing with Tombow, of course, is because it's not instant, you can actually reposition things if you're quite quick. So, you know, if it's not quite in the right place, then you've got time to move it about. Whereas with anything else, you haven't. There you go. And with this, it doesn't matter really which way you have it. I think that's probably okay. But let's just see the front. Maybe down a little bit. Fingers are filthy. And then just make sure you press it down all the way around, like that. And there's the front of your card. All you have to do now is attach it to the back. And for that, make sure that you have your hinge, so it's going to open that way. I guess you don't have to if you don't want to. You could have it the other way around, but if you want to be a bit more unconventional, nothing wrong with unconventional. So I'm going to just open it out, and I'm just going to make sure it's lined up, and then press it down and just run the burnishing tool over the back. So there you have your card. Now if you want to, you could cover this because you know, if you don't want people to be able to see the mechanism, just put another piece of card on the back. And what you could actually do is put a contrasting colour. I don't know, scraps of card to hand. Hang on a second. You know, if you wanted to see what, I don't know, what black looked like, you could use, I mean obviously if you were using the green, that would look lovely. So that's the card. I'm not putting a sentiment on it. I'm happy with it the way it is, and you know, I think it's a really lovely card. I think this is beautiful, and I'm absolutely in love with these stamps. So I hope you enjoyed watching, and see you soon. Bye.